Welcome to the Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. I'm Jeff Herbenchuk, coming to you from our studios in Washington, D.C., and today we are going to be joined by two leaders in the software space when it comes to engineering, not just above ground, but also below ground. Now, in the fall conference, it wrapped up in October. I had a great opportunity to get back together with Francois Voila. He is with Bentley, and he's been on the program many times talking about their OpenAI system, their suite of software services that are powered and supported by AI to help surface infrastructure, a lot of the street, roads, bridges, and such. And today, I want to bring everybody together and talk about this partnership and what it means for engineers. So I'm very pleased to be welcomed by Pat McLaren. He is the segment director, civil at Seequent. So welcome both to the program. Yeah, it's great to have you. Francois, let's start off with kind of Bentley's partnership acquisition of Seequent, the decision behind that, and kind of what it means for your end customers.
Yeah, so Bentley Systems, as you know, is the leading provider of engineering software applied to infrastructure. And then we also do that for, planning, construction, design, and up the way to operation and back. But we've never had a complete geotechnical geology suite. So a few years back, actually, because it's not new news, that Seequent was acquired by Bentley. But we've been working together with Pat and his team to really starting to integrate these technologies. And we're very proud of what we've done in our integration and across our different products, including Open Roads, integrating very well with OpenGround. And that's used across the DOT market and all the ECs essentially on the planet. And so it's really a powerful set of technology that really helps us into the ground investigation aspect. And so we're very proud to talk about that today in this conference and in this podcast, actually.
Outstanding. Yeah, the addition of OpenGround to that suite of products. Patrick, what did it kind of mean for Seequent to become part of the Bentley family, and how do you think this is going to open up for the end customer a lot more possibility with the software that you've already developed and all the work that you already groundwork that you've laid?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So, it's fantastic to be part of Bentley. If you think about Bentley having everything that you need to advance built infrastructure, the engineering software company, then Seequent is the Bentley subsurface company. So what we're concerned about and what our focus is everything that's happening underneath the ground across a range of industries, but particularly in how that supports the building and project delivery on civil infrastructure. So if you think about Bentley as being covering everything above ground, then Seequent's covering everything below ground.
Yeah, and bringing it together under one family of really cloud-based services that allows project teams now full visibility into a project site. Yeah, Francois.
Yeah, I perhaps didn't answer your question fully about what's the benefit of bringing that together. Yeah. So one of the things that situation in the industry is that the unforeseen nature of those ground conditions, the uncertainty that's associated with not being able to fully see what's beneath your feet, is actually one of the leading drivers of claims and overruns, especially for transportation projects. So it's our solutions from Seequent that help the engineers working in Bentley software to manage the geotechnical data, model the geology, analyze the ground conditions, and then really understand what is waiting for them on site before the work starts and we break ground.
And it's integrating that into that entire data set. Francois, explain that a little bit about how this aspect of information is going to help project teams using your suite of services to really address the full design of a site.
Right. So Bentley is all about covering all of the lifecycle of the infrastructure, but also within each of the lifecycle phases to be able to make the different practitioners that need to work collaboratively together around our software to really create the best outcome for the taxpayers and people that are the stakeholders of these infrastructure. Reducing risk is one of the key factor in this And then underground risk, as Pat just mentioned, is one of those key contributors. So what we're after here is to basically expose this data, that underground geotech data. So that would be different boreholes information that can be displayed in the context of Open Roads Designer. Those objects are essentially native Open Roads object that the civil open roads or roadway designer sitting in front of the computer can, use it in different views, whether it's cross-section view, the profile view, or just the plan view, and then produce these drawing production in a way that is, semi-automated, that makes it really, really easy for people to consume that geotech data. And then OpenGround being cloud-based, it makes it to store all that information. And we're highly encouraging people to store that information for a long period of time. So because, as you know, the geology may or may not change a ton over time. And so if things haven't changed and there was no landslide or massive changes, this information is good for a long time. So it becomes an asset that can be managed into OpenGround and then consumed in the context of design. So you can, have reuse of that data and so on. The other thing we want to support is things that, this continuous idea of improving the knowledge of what's on the ground. So as you're, think about a design build project. You're doing a roadway corridor, for example, in a design build. And then you can have, constant, surveying or understanding of what's on the ground and then report back to the designer as they're moving. And then they can adjust the plans and save a ton of money like that, reduce the risk as we go as well. So this is something that we want to encourage as it's people that are normally working in silos. That's kind of the current state of the industry. We're bringing those together with these various interoperability touch points to our infrastructure cloud platform and so on. So bringing all of that information together at the fingertip of the designer.
Yeah. Francois, to pick up on a point you made there about, this geological information, this geotechnical information is very good over the long haul for the life of the asset. But what's happening more and more, I think we're seeing in the industry is this pressure to accelerate the project delivery, deliver projects early, start projects earlier. And of course, the first thing you need to do is take a look at the ground. So what often happens now is that designers are working while the site investigation's continuing. So you're with the introduction of OpenGround, that really speeds this process of your site investigation. It's reducing the cost of your site investigation, but it's also providing the designer that information as soon as it's available. So you imagine that situation where same day you're getting data from the field, quality checked by senior engineers, then it's right in the designer's software. And they could be sitting in, one side of the state, other side of the state, and it's just seamless. So that integration between the civil engineering design with the geotechnical data coming in as it's available is really key to de-risking these projects and accelerating these projects.
Yeah, it really is transforming the way that engineers are managing these projects. I mean, to think that to Francois's point, these silos are being completely broken down, and creating this data in now becoming an asset, a digital asset that extends throughout the project lifecycle. You can go back and look at the data at any given time within that project, since it's now a digital object. I mean, this is really transformative for any size firm really using this. This is kind of a digital equalizer to an extent that mid-range firms, smaller firms can have the same power as the big guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the decisive factor when people select software like OpenGround is, are you working with a trusted partner, somebody that can secure your information, that can have the proper check, the proper compliance to all different standards, security standard, application security standards. So at Bentley and at Seequent, we have attackers, defenders that are, every day essentially making sure our systems are secure. So you want to work with serious players. We believe that Bentley is serious in that field, and we have a very high level, very high standards when it comes to our users' data in that context. And we don't use it for training our AI. For example, we have all kinds of policy that make it really, really, us a really responsible user. I mean, custodian of our users' data in that context. So we believe that our users' data is always their data, and not our data in any means and a stretch of imagination. Unlike some of our competitors, so that's really key to mention there.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, the prevalence of AI being built into a lot of different platforms of questionable security and data governance is a big concern to any company out there that's looking to put its data up on the cloud or make it available to an AI system. So having those controls and compliance requirements in place is important across the board, especially no matter what size the end user is, without question.
Indeed.
Yeah, Pat. Seequent's been around for a while doing this work. Yeah. I mean, having this new capability, AI enabled, digital asset. You're getting into the space now with this suite where you're getting into digital twins. I mean, really, what does this mean for the Seequent team to be able to iterate off of, OpenGround? I mean, how does this kind of open up the playing field for you to develop, new tools?
Yeah, I think if you think about those silos, it's all about breaking down those silos. Our projects today, multidisciplinary, many different teams. We see increasing complexity in projects as we kind of close the infrastructure gap. So what that means is you've got to get the data flowing, you've got to get the data connected, but to Francois's point, you've got to do that in the right way. So, that's one of the fantastic things about being part of Bentley. We're bringing these things together. We're making them secure but accessible, ensuring your data is accurate. You talked about AI. We've touched on AI. If you don't have quality data, then you're not going to get as many insights. So I was just reading something that said, the sooner you can curate that quality data, get your historical data together in an accessible, well-managed form, then the sooner you're going to be deriving better insights out of that data, making better decisions for your projects.
Yeah. And it's all aiming to digital delivery and digital twin ultimately, right? So this all starts into design, closing the loop to, all the way to operations and then back, this is what exactly this virtual cycle of data information. And then when something could happen over time during the operation of that asset, a bridge or a tunnel, we can go back and look at historical data, what design decision we're taking, having real as-built information, all of that stored into the infrastructure cloud. And then we have, very secure system to store all of that information, one of which being OpenGround, which is for the GI, the geotechnical information. And it's a very, very important things for all the ECs and as well as the owners that are listening to your podcast. So thank you for having us, by the way. We appreciate it.
Yeah. It really is transformational. We talk a lot about technology, AI. We talk about how digital delivery is changing the marketplace for engineering. But, this is a perfect example of that. It is the design is no longer a static thing. It is something which is now due to digital, the digital development that we've had with Bentley and with Seequent and firms like yours, being able to create this data into a package that is now, it is tangible. You can do things with it. You can look at it throughout history and a timeline. You might be building a bridge. You might be designing a large building that has, subsector, sub-levels underneath. And, you no longer tied into data that is static, years down the line. If a modal administration wants to build a subway or a train line underneath, you now have that information to be able to adequately plan and anticipate any changes, which is significant. So you can look forward now and you can try to anticipate what might happen.
Yeah, I think that's the definition of resilience, is the ability to adapt to change. And you hear a lot about resilience in infrastructure these days. And so having this digital twin approach, even if you don't have the full information about the underground, the information that you have about the underground, it costs a lot to acquire. It's exceedingly precious, and it's highly relevant as you adapt to change over the life cycle of the infrastructure. So it's really important to take that long-term view.
Well, for the OpenGround suite of software, where should people go to learn more about that if they haven't already, looked at the open asset
Absolutely. So Seequent.com is, you can find out all about OpenGround there, but also on Bentley.com as well. You'll find out, we are the Bentley subsurface company. So, very closely aligned. You can come at it from either direction, whichever you prefer. Yeah, it's worth mentioning, Jeff, that OpenGround is really the successor to Gint. Gint has been in the industry for a long time. So OpenGround's this really flexible, powerful replacement for GIN. It ensures that your geotechnical data is going to be accurate, is going to be accessible and secure. So, I talked about that journey in almost near real time from the field to the designer's desk. That's what's enabled by this transformation, moving to the cloud, getting the benefits of that connectivity to enable collaboration, go back to breaking down the silos that we talked. One of the things I'm really excited about OpenGround, I just wanted to share, is, we're supporting open industry standards, which are really important for the industry. And so things like digs and, our goals to reduce the cost of data capture and leverage the digital asset that you have in your geotechnical data, because it's hard won to go and get that data in the first place. You don't want to be back out there collecting it again later.
Absolutely, and that's a good point you raised. This is an evolution over a trusted product into the cloud, right? And powered with Bentley. So this is, it's building upon years of experience and years of use and at the end user level for the geo information. So this is it's good to know it's an evolution over a trusted product. There's something else which I know, Francois, you and I kind of touched on at our fall conference in October, but things have changed and there's been a little bit of space between now and then. And OpenSite Plus, you had some news about that you weren't quite ready to share. So if we can kind of go into that a little bit, what do you have to tell us?
Yeah, so OpenSite Plus, first of all, is the first of our next generation products that are digital twin native, AI infused, and always connected to the infrastructure cloud. That means as you design, you're essentially creating the digital delivery. It's not a special step. It's just part of that. It covers the entirety of conceptual design all the way to final design, finished surface with, optimization of your grading, drainage capabilities, the whole enchilada, and integrating GIS and so on and so on. And then this whole idea of bringing AI to site civil, but engineering in general is something that Bentley has been after for some time. So very happy now to announce that OpenSite Plus has reached a limited availability status, which means it's available commercially so people can use it on projects. But we're not, offering this to everybody, but to our existing customers. And we have basically a lot of customers in the United States and Canada, mostly North American based in this context. We're ready to work with you to get your first project going and really work together on that. This product is so productive. I mean, they give you essentially as a user up to 10x productivity in drawing production and data integration and design itself, allowing the time to study more alternative, right? Do a better job, do essentially something that is going to be delighting your customers, your clients even more with, proper, more advanced. Usually people have time for one or two alternatives a year. You can look at a different, maybe 10 alternatives and then really do value engineering on some of those things. So for us, it's very key. And the AI capability there is front and center. So there's like a few things that we've done in terms of AI. First thing I want to talk about is drawing production. Drawing production is about 50 to 60% of, give and take on a standard site civil project. So you spend time paying your people, drafters, putting text on a piece of paper, and that's time consuming. And it's not the most glorious things that engineers have to do. And you may or may not find drafters out there. So this is a task that is easily can be delegated to an AI. That's what we've done in that context. So we basically made that things automated fast. So it can, meet your design criteria, the aesthetics of that. Actually does a great job at decluttering, the text itself and make it really, really, easy. And with AI, what's very interesting compared to traditional algorithm, you couldn't really define beautiful in previous algorithm. Where AI, statistically, you sort of say, that's something that people have judged beautiful. So I can, as an AI, replicate that. The second thing is the Copilot. So Bentley has announced the YII conference, which happened in Amsterdam this year, the Year in Infrastructure Conference, the availability in multiple applications, starting with OpenSite Plus, of the Bentley Copilot. Bentley Copilot is an assistant that helps the engineer, get essentially product information, query the model, make changes to the model. And then what's special about this tool is that it is tailored to the need of the engineers. And then we've tailored that to each practitioner. So when we implement that inside civil, it understands site civil. So you can be asking questions, very complex question about drainage or anything site civil. And we sort of essentially retrieval augmented generated, or RAG, some people use it like that, to really tailor that to the need of the professional in front of the computer. Because we know that the person using OpenSite Plus is a site civil person, right? It's a land developer, is that sort of persona. So we can tailor that, the experience there. And the third thing is the grading optimization. So this ability of setting up, the constraint that I want, and we have actually a patent pending on that capability, defining the break lines, the low point, the high points, and let the, optimization engine create the best possible surface in there that's going to optimize the cost. So those three things are really, really key. So the drawing production, the AI Copilot, the Bentley Copilot, and the ability to optimize ground. All of that without using our customers' data to train those. So essentially what we're doing here is we created, digital data for that, synthetic data. We've also developed a various algorithm. And then we were able to create these very fantastic tools without having to use our customer data. Because Bentley has a very stringent data usage policy. We're saying we don't use our customer data to train AI unless you explicitly sign a contract with us to do so. Yeah. It's not part of our EULA in some way. Then it's really an opt-in opportunity as opposed to an opt-out, kind of function that you have to take. So it's a very key differentiator in between our approach and some of our competitors' approach. All of that secured by the infrastructure cloud capability and the backing of the cloud providers we're leveraging in the background there. So it's a very strong offering that is, we think change forever the world of site civil engineering in that context.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's very impressive. I think, having the Copilot that understands the role of the user is great, because so often when we do use a Copilot attached to a piece of software, it's one thing to all people. It's it tries to emulate based off the prompt that you give it, but it doesn't actually understand what you're doing. It just kind of has a base level of understanding. So being able to tailor it to the user, and then also to have that, built in and to automate and create efficiencies in the design and drafting process is a significant improvement as well. So that again is going to be made available to existing customers in North America.
Yep. Exactly. And then from all the learning that we've done in that flooring, that adventure to do site civil, we've actually learned that we can apply that to other disciplines. And then at YII 2025, we were also able to unveil 2 great enhancements to OpenRoads Designer. So we just talked about that OpenGround integration, which we've made more effective just now, but also we've added capabilities for the drawing production label optimizer within OpenRoads Designer 2025, which is coming up very soon, actually this month. And then into next year, you're going to see the Copilot going into OpenRoad Designer, which is going to essentially make it, and it's tailored to the need of a road engineer, obviously, right? And we're able to do that. And because OpenRoad and OpenRail are, sister products, we're able to introduce that capability in OpenRail Designer as well. So enabling the world of railway design in that context, the same way, and it's being RAG'd or, specialized for railway needs. So it's getting there. And, I'm not going to tell you everything that you can follow the logic, right, of where we're heading with all that. And then we're going to be adding more Bentley Copilot across our portfolio there.
Yeah. Fantastic. A lot to be excited about if you're a Bentley user, both on the geo side and then also on the road and rail side and the structural and site civil. So a lot of great news. Go up to Bentley online, Seequent as well. get some information about the OpenGround and the Open Asset Systems. Francois and Pat, really do appreciate you taking the time to join us to go over these new offerings. It's going to be very exciting for a lot of our members.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you having us, Jeff.
Yeah, fantastic, and can't wait to have you on the show on your once these products also develop a little bit more and you have more to share, make sure to have you back on to talk about it. So until then, this has been Engineering Influence podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies, and we'll see you next time.